Hello, everyone. Dr. Christine Smith back for a super interesting live for you today. I have invited on my friend Neal Huey, who is an AI expert. You might be asking why I was inviting on an AI expert onto a health, not being incredibly stressed out as our world evolves and transforms, learning how to navigate it, learning how to make it in your favor. And Neal is an expert in this as well as an expert in visual AI. And we wanted to give you guys some real stuff about what's happening. So Neal, I'd love if you just introduce yourself to people for a second and kind of how you fell in love with this whole field. And then I can kind of talk about like why I think this conversation matters and we can hop into our questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Christine. And I got into AI through years of doing e-commerce, marketing, TikTok shop. And then about a year ago, I cloned myself with HeyGen, which is an AI tool, for the first time. So visually taking myself and downloading it into AI and then just mass producing content. And I was at the height, I was posting 10 videos a day last year. And then I realized I needed to kind of pivot and just start serving personal brands and business owners because they're the ones that are really the most burned out. And my first couple of clients were in the functional wellness space. And so I got connected with Dr. Christine at a mastermind. And so now my expertise is working with people on a done for you basis where we'll download them into their own version of AI. We'll put a whole strategy in place and then spin up ads, content, social media, everything where you honestly, you can't even tell that it's AI. That's how good it is. So yeah, that's a background on me and kind of how I got here today.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And for everybody wondering, like the reason I think this conversation really matters right now is people are totally overwhelmed by how fast AI is evolving and it's happening. It's not going anywhere. It's like the internet and the automobile and the cell phone, like it's going to happen. And so instead of being stressed out about it or run over by it, we want to teach you how to feel empowered by it and how to use the tools before they use you. And so I wanted to have this because I can see what it's doing to the human nervous system. There's information overload, pressure to produce, creative burnout. And the burnout isn't just mental, it's physiological. It's like high cortisol, low GABA, disrupted mitochondria, emotional dysregulation. When your body's signals are ignored in pursuit of speed, which is actually a kind of societal pressure that we put on ourselves that isn't actually sustainable. Because I'm watching entrepreneurs and creators hit burnout because they're constantly pouring into this like somewhat black hole that is the internet. And it's sleep disruption, dopamine depletion, chronic stress, the never ending feeling of never being enough. It's just about like cognitive overload. And the amount that is expected of us and the stimulus that we're exposed to is absurd compared to our grandparents. And a house that costs $75,000 now costs $750,000. So the output needed to survive in our world is about 100 times plus what it used to be. And then like the reason I got interested in AI is because it's one of the biggest conversations in business. We talk about it in all of my high level masterminds, which is where I met him. I like to feel empowered about big changes in the world rather than overwhelmed. And I like to know what's coming. And for anyone who's like, against it, whatever, know thy enemy, right? But I don't really think it's an enemy. I think it's a tool. And this is how to use it and how to stay ahead of it. And there's a possibility that AI might actually save us from our own unsustainable productivity culture if we use it consciously. And it could be a tool for balance rather than burnout, but it depends on the ethics of how we use it. And that is what we're here to discuss and get your opinions on. And so some people, I asked a minute ago, like, what do you hear when you hear AI? Like, what's the first emotion that comes up? And someone said curious, which is the exact right mindset to be in. So that's what we're going to kind of dive into today. So Neal, as this expert in the AI and tech industry, what are you seeing right now as the AI industry is developing? Where is it most misunderstood? And what's coming down the pipeline? And like, how do we navigate this?
So I think there's really like two trains of thought when it comes to AI, as an employee or as a business owner. And I think it's a clear distinction between the two because if I was an employee, I would genuinely be concerned and trying to upskill my skill set, just sprinkling in how do I use AI with my job? How do I leverage more of myself to add more value to my future employers, whatever? Because if you don't, I mean, everyone's heard you're not going to get replaced by AI. You're going to get replaced by people using AI. That's like the buzz sentence floating around the world right now. And the flip side on business owners, it's incredible because it just creates so much leverage within our business. And every business owner that I talk to, including myself and everyone that I work with, is just constrained for time. Time is the biggest asset that they have, and they're constantly burned out. And so AI is just a really, really great tool across all fronts, whether you're writing emails, responding to chat tickets, support tickets, working with customers, clients, or making content, right? And so that's really where my focus is on making content. So all things related to AI, if you were to zoom back like 3 years ago when I was doing content for my e-commerce brand, you're manually writing down ideas. You're coming up with your own angles. You're going out and you're filming things. You don't know really what's good. You're just pulling assumptions and testing things manually. And so AI is really allowing you to speed up the production process of how you actually ideate things, test things, gather feedback and data. And literally across all fronts of all dimensions of business, it's just accelerating entrepreneurs to do more. And so I guess back to my earlier point, it's enabling people from with 9 to 5s to jump full into entrepreneurship too. So if you're concerned about your job, like, just look at ways that you can start dabbling with some side hustles. I'm in a couple masterminds where the people running the masterminds literally teach people how to make money with AI, how to make digital products. Like you can ask ChatGPT, think about, hey, it knows you so well. So you're like, hey, what are the top 10 things that I'm interested in? Okay, cool. Now, could you pick one of those and make an ebook out of it that adds value, solving 3 problems and builds a guide, a guideline playbook on like how to position this with the market. And then you can just start to talk about it. You can build a whole business plan around anything that you want, as small as like a little $7 cookbook recipe or a really complex AI cloning agency that I have where I'm selling like high ticket services to business owners. There's infinite there's infinite things you can do with AI.
We got a prompt from our mastermind that I loved, and it was, if you've been using it for a while, it starts to get to know you by the way that you prompt it. And the prompt was, tell me deep psychological insights about myself, including things I might not want to hear. And it was really interesting because it's analyzing you from your prompts, which means that it's analyzing how you speak to yourself. Because how you prompt AI is pretty much how you talk to yourself, which is pretty fascinating. So all of this leads into like, a lot of people are averse to this, but how do we use the tool before it uses us? And just want to ask you guys, for like anyone who's creating content, like, have you guys felt pressure to post more because of all the AI content like flooding the internet? And like, feel free to comment as we go, because I really want this to be interactive, because we are here to talk about the ethics of it and to answer your questions and to get your opinion, because as business owners, we want to be using this ethically, but it is a tool that we are going to have to adopt to keep up, or we will drown in the robots. So when it comes to that whole like aversion to it, or like how to use the tool before it uses you, what are your thoughts around that? And that's a question for you, Neal.
Oh, I was looking at the chat trying to see if there was people saying
For everybody, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
the question. Sorry, could you repeat it back?
Totally. Yeah. So a lot of people are like averse to AI, but as we said, it's only going to keep growing like the internet. Like, I think the most empowering approach is to learn how to use the tools before they use you. Like, what are your thoughts on that for people? And this might be like the learning curves, or like learning how, like, my next question was kind of going into prompting. We could kind of blend that together, but a lot of people feel like AI doesn't work for them. But this whole like learning how to use tools before they use you.
Yeah, I mean, AI stands for artificial intelligence, and like intelligence at its core, it's like the smartest person you ever talked to in your pocket, and but behind a screen. So you have to ask it the right questions in order for it to start invoking and like providing the right guidance. Now, there's so many different softwares out there that are specifically helping people to solve very laser focused problems within their business or their world. And AI is just such a general term that I think people need to start thinking about, like, what are the problems in my life that I want to focus on, and like how do I use AI to help me solve those problems? And sometimes it can be a simple chat GPT conversation. If you're writing any type of copy, I think Claude is typically better, just in terms of um, the actual sentence structure, and it just sounds a little bit more human. As well as like just different tools and applications that exist, right? And so, I mean, for me, I make so much content and I educate my clients on how to automate different business processes and content systems to come up with the ideas for scripts, how to get the right B-roll organized, how to actually sit down and record the content, and then get it edited and posted at a mass scale. And like the biggest tool that I use in the middle of that is that little step about sitting down to film and record content. And so my world, every business owner that I talk to, they either hate filming or they just don't have the time for filming.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, Christine just doesn't have the time. She's very busy. And so, but no, everyone. And so like that's one problem that AI addresses very specifically. And then you stack that with a number of problems in that whole process and that whole system. You know, how do you come up with fresh content ideas? You can use a couple of different tools and softwares to help synthesize, you know, what's trending on the internet, and then pull all those into a document. And then understanding, you know, well, how do you come up with a script? Well, you can use a software that you pay $30 a month for that uses ChatGPT or Claude on the back end of it, and it'll actually just help you do copywriting. Like Sandcastle's AI is a tool that helps with short form script writing. I prefer to use my own like prompts and just kind of get my hands dirty inside of Claude and build like custom prompt. I call them AI brains, which we've worked on, Christine, for you, which was like literally I brought you through an exercise where we extracted all of the information out of your business, like several hours worth of like all of your science, your business, your frameworks.
It's really cool. I can literally have a conversation with my own brain and ask it questions when I'm feeling depleted.
And it will answer things in a way that like your best self answers, right? So it's your best self on 24/7, right? And I think that's the biggest thing that ethically people need to like really kind of grasp hold of, which is that it's not a replacement of you. It's just an extension of your mind, of your face, of your likeness, out to serve more people. And as a business owner, especially, right? That's like we need to get in front of as many people as possible, and we try to, and but of course in an ethical, compliant fashion, right? We don't want to just say things that trigger people on the internet and just go mega viral just to go viral, right?
Well, and there's crappy prompts and there's great prompts. And I think great prompts are things where you give it input that's original from you, and then you ask it to help you brainstorm and ask you questions to pull more stuff out of you. And that's how you get original content with using AI as a tool, versus if you say, write my content or write me an essay or write me this on this topic, that's how you get crappy output. That's like a plagiarism issue. But if you give it input of, like, I'll talk to it about things that I'm thinking about, or, you know, things that I think are relevant for people to learn, and then I'll have it ask me questions to make that better, then that can be a huge thing. So someone said, please tell us the names of the software. Neal, I'm sure this will be overwhelming for some people, but just top of your mind, can you just list a couple of your faves and like their role?
Yeah, so probably my favorite software when it comes to brainstorming, ideation, script writing is Poppy AI. And this is like a whiteboard that you can attach a bunch of knowledge base items to, and then you can connect those into like a chatbot and then just talk to it. If you're doing any type of content, it's super cool because you can just copy and paste like the links of like your 10 top competitors' videos. You want to go find, and then, by the way, this is like a really good content strategy. So go find your top 10 competitors, go sort through all their reels and find their most viral ones, grab all of those links, and then drop them into Poppy, and then have Poppy ask prompted and be like, hey, can you extract what made these analyze what made these videos go viral, and then extract out like the frameworks, the common threads, just things, synthesize things that I can use in my own content. And it will pull a whole analysis together based off of those top 10 videos that are in your industry. And then now you have like a perfect little guide. And then so that guide, you just drop that, save it to the side. And now you're making these knowledge base items that are like super, super high intent and very intelligent, specific to your world or whatever you're trying to accomplish, right? So if I'm doing content, that's one way to go about it. If I wanted to write emails, like I get hit with like 100 emails a day because of how many people's things I've signed up to, but there's like a few people's emails that I really respect and I read. I could go grab all of those emails and I could synthesize them and have it write it. I could create a new email bot, right? And then now it's going to be writing emails in the like in the tone of that person. But so Poppy AI is really good. And then that's how I kind of go through my ideation and my scripting for the most part. If you don't want to pay for Poppy AI, I think it's like $800 for the year or something. So it's not cheap, but it's definitely worth it. You just use ChatGPT or Claude, like that'll get you 90% there. And then once you get your scripts organized and put together, what I do with my clients is we build content systems and kind of customize it for whatever. Every business is different, and it could be on Notion, it could be on Airtable, just a simple Google Drive where scripts turn into an instruction for someone to sit down and film, and then that gets sent to an editor and then posted. So pretty much the common thread of tools that I use in that workflow is we take the script, then we go into 11 Labs, and in 11 Labs, we do what's called a professional voice clone. And so my team will synthesize hours and hours of our client's voice, and we'll do a lot of like little magic work to it and get it sounding exactly like the human or the person on the other side. And so we'll take that script, we'll put it in 11 Labs, and that'll generate the voiceover. And then we take that and then we put it in a tool called HeyGen. There's another one called Infinite Talk. Either one of these is really good. And then that will take that voiceover and actually bring an avatar to life. And so there's a whole process that I go through with my clients of like designing out the different looks and scenes and outfits. Sometimes we'll put people in a podcast studio. Sometimes we'll put people out walking on the beach or like out here on my balcony, and then just thinking intentionally, like, what do you want your brand to look like on the other side of that content? And so you'll have like a whole library of avatars. And so we'll go from script to voiceover to avatar, and then we'll push on over into editing. And I think that like, look, no one likes video editing. It's like everyone always asks me like, is there a tool that will just like automate it all and like edit everything?
Mhm.
And unfortunately, right now, I mean, look, there's some really cool stuff happening. I think give it another year or so, and we're gonna have some AI agents that are gonna help us edit. But right now, it's just like kind of CapCut, Premiere Pro, the basic editing tools. Those are the main tools that I use in my workflow with my clients.
Amazing. Thank you. And for anyone new who's popping in, just to catch you up, like we're talking about how to use AI, what's coming in the world, and the ethics behind using it, and how to use it as a tool before it uses you. So we can hop in a second. Well, I guess I'll also share like for the prompting thing. So like software, like there's so many AI softwares now, like a lot of people only know about ChatGPT, which is great for logic. Like ChatGPT is really awesome on logic, and it's great to like think through something or brainstorm. And then there's ones like Perplexity, which is super good for research, which, hello, as a past researcher who spent an entire summer like reading through research journals and articles, to be able to quickly summarize a bunch of recent research articles is awesome. That's how we can give you guys the most relevant information. And then, in clinic, I do not use it to create protocols for people. That is where I think it's unethical. What I will use it for is when I find an infection in somebody and I'm like, hey, AI, what is the best herb against this specific strain of bacteria? And then it's like, try these herbs. And then I'll muscle test that person in office to see what they test for. And then that's how I will make their protocol, but I will use it to do research for me quickly while I'm in office with somebody so I can give them the best outcome. So this is like the subtle nuances of like how to use stuff ethically. And then someone else mentioned like Sora 2 for AI videos. Yeah, there's so many of them. That's why I wanted to ask Neal, is because he's like pretty up to date on some of the best stuff. And then there's Claude for writing, which he mentioned. But like the reason that we want to bring this up is most people don't realize how crowded the internet is about to become. And there's like a couple ways to stand out. And this is either like extreme authenticity, which I've tried to always have on the channel for you guys. And then we're going to talk about the ethics of like being authentic while also using the tool. And then also like yeah, two real ways to stand out, and why extreme human authenticity is one of them. But then the other way is to use the tools. And let's also give the example. You brought up a long form YouTuber the other day who's totally honest when her avatar is talking, which looks and sounds exactly like her, because this is what technology is able to do now, just so you guys are aware of the stuff that's happening on the internet. But she was in the hospital and she couldn't be on camera. And then she was able to still give answers to people in need. So I'd love if we could talk a little bit about your thoughts on like how crowded the internet is going to become and what's happening and like what you see for the future.
Yeah. So look, I was on a webinar last night with a guy that grew his AI avatar account from 0 to 200,000 followers in like 6 months. And the title of his webinar was The End of the Internet, the Last 1,000 Days. And it's kind of scary if you think about it, but like the reality is there are people that have figured out how to use AI, and AI is connected into automations, and then they're just printing content at scale. And that's there's people doing it for good, for bad, for entertainment, for views, for likes. Like it doesn't matter. That what matters is that everyone has some type of personal motivation of why they want to make the content, and now they have the tools to just do this at a crazy scale. As long it takes resources, knowledge, and time and money to like set this up. But if you have any or all of that, or you can work with the right people, then you can set up your own systems and just print content. And so what that means though is that the supply and demand of the internet. There's only so much digital real estate, right? And so these glory days of everyone building personal brands and going viral effortlessly. And I don't want to say effortlessly because it's always been hard to go viral and build a brand, but it's going to be harder and harder for personal brands to stand out. And so really, there's only like a couple ways that you can compete with all of this, with all of this AI slop, right? I think that it's one thing if you're cloning yourself like me or Christine, and it's just an extension of us, and we're adding value into the world, and we're doing it at like a normal, reasonable rate. Maybe we have like one or two other accounts that hit like different subcategories or niches, right? Like I'm into cars, so maybe I have a car account. I'm into health, maybe I have a health account. Like that's one strategy to deploy here if you use AI. But to compete with all the AI slop, so people like just going in Sora and being like, let me create funny videos of like cats with shotguns and like golden retrievers jumping over rainbows and like all sorts of stuff, just blasting the internet, right? That is more interesting than me talking about AI. So all of a sudden
The
it back
dopamine hit.
it's the dopamine, right? So everyone's dopamine receptors are just getting fried, and so the only way to
Which
compete
comes
with
to the health component of all of this.
yeah. And so the only way to compete with all that is you either clone yourself into AI and you start amplifying the amount of content and value you're putting into the world. And you have to operate more like a data scientist where you're actually looking at what's working in these industries and like what are trends and common things that I can put into my content and just maximize your chances of going viral and competing because these AI accounts, that's how they're making content. They're context engineering, which is a big word that's emerging right now in the AI space. And so it used to be prompt engineering, but it's all about the context that you can bring into the situation, into the prompt that helps that asset that you're working on be that much more powerful and tailored towards whatever outcome you're trying to produce. So in this case, a viral video, that cat with a shotgun, someone might have ran some model that went through like 1,000 different scenarios to say, hey, a cat with a shotgun, that's the best one. Let's go with that. Right. And so it's no longer about just picking up the camera and just hoping that this is going to work. Like you actually need to do your analysis and your research and figure out what will work for you and then pump that out at scale. So either use AI to help you synthesize through a ton of winning ideas or use it to extend yourself and multiply your face online or the combination of both. Right. Now, the complete other side is like it's very dystopian, I think, because there's going to be a line drawn at some point in the next couple of years where like there will be a wealth divide starting to happen. There will be kind of a people saying like people that are hard right or left versus AI or not, and like it's you're already going to start to see this online. So I think the other way to break through is just by intentionally thinking about like how do you do things and operate in a way that AI just can't comprehend and it cannot like replicate and understand. And so like I don't know, like I'm out here like with a coffee cup and like a second phone on my balcony. So like maybe the hook of my video is I'm like drop my phone into like my coffee. Like I don't know, right? This is like going extreme and just doing like weird human things that like AI doesn't really think about, right? And then somehow I flip that and I spin that into a narrative that's talking about health and coffee in the morning and then when I should drink it, right? And all of a sudden, boom, like now people's attention, like AI would have never brought me down that rabbit hole. And it would be very hard for AI to create that scene, but that's something that me as a human, like I just thought of that on the fly, and it's a very human-like interaction. So I could lean into that fully, and I could sit here all day thinking about what are the craziest things that I could do on my balcony. That like, hey, I got a cactus over here. Like, well, what can I do with a cactus? Like, just look around, right? And you can get really creative. But yeah, so either use AI to compete with the internet or use your human authenticity to cut through. So clearly you're bringing in humans that would relate to you.
Beautifully said. I think that is a really nice delineation between things. And as we're talking about this, so the reason that we wanted to do this is we want to give you guys some insight into like what's happening, especially if this is new information to you, because AI is not evil. It's just a tool. It's just about how you use the tool. But for Neal, one of his specialties is creating the AI avatars. So the things that look like people, and you guys may have heard of the AI Delphi. Delphi is basically something where you can interact with someone and talk to them. I know like Matthew Hussey has one, and Dr. Mark Hyman has one as well now. And basically, it's a way that you can load your knowledge base into an AI so the public can have a conversation with it like they're talking to you, again, within reason. Like ethically, you put in parameters and rules so you're not giving somebody bad advice, because there's a whole question earlier about like who's liable if something happens from some advice that's given from some AI, which is a really relevant question. This is why we have to have the ethics conversation of like, how do you set the parameters? How do you set the rules? But we people think that they can tell when something is AI generated. It's not true. You can tell when crappy AI generation is done, but you really can't tell the good ones. So this is kind of what Neal and I wanted to show you. And he has an avatar that he's made for himself, and he has an avatar that he made for me, which this is really like the first time I'm even showing it to you guys, because I wanted to have it was really important to me to have a conversation with you guys about this before it even was debuted or came onto my channel, because I wanted to get your opinion. I wanted to see how you felt about it. And this is one of the reasons that I've really liked working with Neal, and I really respect him in business, is because he never pushed me to do anything that I felt was unethical. And so this was how we decided, like, if it was going to be used, we needed to have a conversation with you guys and get your opinion and like see what you thought and see what was important to you. And then after this, we'll have a conversation about like, well, what is ethical, right? Like if it's coming from the practitioner or the person or whatever, and it's been written by them and reviewed by them, and it's their knowledge base, is it unethical if it just happens to look like them? And like thinking back to that, long form YouTuber who was in the hospital and couldn't be on camera, but was able to still produce content and make a living because of her AI avatar. Like, where are the ethics in that? So, Neal, let's share whatever order you want to go in for demos, and we can kind of get people's opinions. And guys, as we do this, like, please comment and ask questions so that we can answer your questions. That's why we wanted to do this live. It would have been way easier to do it on Zoom, but I wanted to give you a chance to ask questions.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, I think my comments are frozen, so I can't see the comments. But if you see if there's anything, okay, cool.
Yeah, I got you.
So yeah, I think the first thing to call out before we even jump into like the demo is exactly that what you said. Like, what's the difference between someone being hospitalized and incapable of filming, and you running a business and being too busy to film, right? Like I was talking to another client the other day, and he's running a practice. His baby is about to be born. I'm like, dude, just if you're worried about it, just like throw it out there that like, hey, you're about to have a new family. Like, and this is like this is just an extension of me. And as long as you're creating things that are truly based on your intelligence, your knowledge, they're going through the proper compliance frameworks around, making sure that what you're speaking is true, right? And you're not putting misinformation into the world, then like, in my opinion, I think it's all good. So I'm going to show you a couple videos that I have made. I'm actually making some new ads for a campaign right now. Here, let me see if I can pull this closer. Okay. I'm going to play a couple scenes.
How some high-ticket coaches and consultants are suddenly everywhere, posting videos multiple times a day across multiple accounts.
No. But so that's the first part, and then the second part, I'm walking on this balcony.
Done for you AI clone setup. We clone your voice, build your AI avatars, and consolidate over 100 steps into a simple playbook for scaling. Since we started, we've worked with 7, 8, and 9-figure personal brands to build these AI clone scaling systems, saving them up.
So this is a funny one because that was me on vacation like a year ago. I had a buzz cut and now my hair's growing back. But I just decided yesterday that I wanted to bring that avatar to life, put those words in its mouth, and I controlled every single word down to like the period, and we're turning those into ads. Now, everyone's here for Dr. Christine. Oh, you can hear. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to share
This has been months of working, guys, like months of making it high quality and all of that.
Yeah, so I've been consulting with Dr. Christine on her back end with like content systems and stuff for months, and designing out a bunch of avatars, and we just wanted to get it right before we debuted it because
everything with me because I was picky about the ethics of it.
So I'm going to show first with no edits, just her talking into the camera, and I think you might even be wearing the same shirt. Are you?
I purposely wore the same shirt so you guys could be kind of freaked out.
Okay, here we go.
You've tried every probiotic, every elimination diet, every supplement. But what if your gut symptoms aren't actually a gut problem? So like if you're bloated after every meal, that's your nervous system stuck in fight or flight. It literally shuts down your stomach acid because your body thinks you're being chased. And if you're seeing undigested...
So because what we do, half of the magic is also putting it together in production. So having the vision for like, what does this asset need to look like? And so I'll just hit play right here.
Well, that's your
stuck in fight or flight. It literally shuts down your stomach acid because your body thinks you're being chased. And if you're seeing undigested food, that's stress stealing the resources your body needs to make enzymes. Random food sensitivities popping up out of nowhere, that's cortisol breaking down your gut lining and letting stuff into your bloodstream that shouldn't be there. And constipation, even though you're doing all the things, your body can't move waste when it's in survival mode. Here's the thing. You can't supplement your way out of this. Your nervous system has to calm down first, and then your gut can actually heal. I'm Dr. Christine. Follow me for more of this. You've tried every probiotic, every
So this is stuff that I wrote and that I got to have conversations about of like what was most relevant to share with people and like brainstorm with my own brain that Neal helped me develop. And then we take that script and we can have the avatar say it so it can deliver it while I'm treating people in the clinic. So someone said, first thoughts, fair and reasonable use based on the info at that time and under those same circumstances and based on the available information, best practice, etc. So thanks. Yeah, that's kind of what we're navigating, right? Is it's like, if I can give you guys relevant information that's going to help you in your life that has been written and vetted and reviewed by me, but it's just something that is computer generated that looks like me, like how's that different than a cartoon with my voice or any of this? So this is where like the ethics come in, where it's like, it's not totally unethical to use an AI avatar. It's about how you use it. And so yeah, Neal, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, and I think it has to do with like the avatar itself too. So I have a client that is similar to you. They have an online program, and we were running ads for them, and he wanted to create not only himself but 2 additional spokesperson for his brand. And so pretty quickly we realized, wait a second, we're kind of getting into this ethical waters where it's not only like morally, can I say this or that? It's like legally, can we have these fake people saying things, making claims, right? And pretty quickly we got on some calls, a couple hours with his attorneys, and we fleshed this out just to be clear. And whether it's an AI or a real person, you cannot spread information, especially when it comes to advertising. And so if it's an AI actor that doesn't even exist, you can't say, oh, I was in this program and then my knee hurt, but then I went and I'm all better. And, so that's why we realized we had to pivot. And so there's certain ways of framing, we had to pivot all of our scripts to put like disclaimers on them and do like kind of speak more in a third person, right? Because it can't be speaking like the AI imaginary person went through his program. However, there's a lot more leeway and flexibility if it's you controlling your own AI avatar, your AI clone, because like we said earlier, it's just an extension of yourself. And as long as you're speaking true things, factual, and delivering factual information that's just value and education that you're sharing to the world, like it's just a tool. That's it. That's all it is, really. It's a tool. Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's just a tool for you to do more with less, like every other tool that exists. Like, it's really what it comes down to.
I had a friend who put out, he's a fantastic, check out his channel if you haven't, Justin Nault Official, Nault, but he put out a reel about traumatized influencers because a lot of them are stuck in this like hustle is more, hustle is more. It's literally just an exacerbation of the unsustainability of our society already, especially in the States. Like we have this work culture that's like really unhealthy. Europe and South America, they're way better. They take siestas and stuff. Even Australia is better sometimes, but the States, we have like some work problems where like it's all of our purpose and all of our being is wrapped up in our work. And now we're expected to do like 100 times more than our grandparents. And so as we look at this, instead of seeing AI as an evil, we can actually see it as a way to finally balance our lives again, where it can do some of the heavy lifting for us, as long as we use it ethically, so that we can spend time with our families or go outside or do something natural for our health and bring it back. So a couple of questions coming in. We're going to take a look. If the ad looks fake, you can forget it. People will move forward, leaving you behind. True. And a lot of people, like something else we haven't talked about yet is like how people are using the avatar. So it's like they might use it on like a funnel or like a video or a cart or something like that. So it's just like just being aware of where these things like might pop up in your field. But again, we're bringing the conversation around this where it's like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just someone like being able to spend time with their kids. But as long as the information that's coming across is authentic and real, that's the important part. And then someone said culpability, it gets deep quickly. Yep, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. And then I agree that if you're very ethical, using AI can be all right, but it's such a slippery slope that people are using improperly and in a way that scares me. Yes, I agree. This is exactly why we're talking about this, so that you guys can kind of understand like what's ethical and what's not, because inevitably there's going to be people using tools unethically, just like they use the internet unethically or whatever. And there's going to be people using it ethically. So like I might use this tool, it might come up on my channel from time to time, but I'm also going to try to let you guys know. But this is why we're doing this before I ever debuted it, is I'm letting you guys know, and we're allowing you to be a part of the conversation and give us your opinions on what concerns you or what you feel okay with. And what about kids? It's easy to fool them. Yes, same with the elderly population. It is easy to fool them. But the question is, okay, so if I'm still telling you about your gut health with the exact same words that I would use with my face on camera, and it happens to be a face that looks like my face, but I'm saying the exact same thing, am I fooling you?
Yeah, so I think
yeah.
that it's so different. The answer and the scenarios are so different for every use case and every business.
Yeah.
And so like you have good guys and you have bad guys, and that's existed since the beginning of time, right? And so the bad guys will clone people, deepfake people, scam people, but you just can't get away from that. The best you can do there is just educating your loved ones on, what's your safe word, right? Or whatever that is. Like I'm laughing, but like genuinely, like go talk to your grandparents and your children about like a safe word and educate them on like what this technology is.
This is real, because that whole phone call where someone's like, help, I've been kidnapped, send money. They can now mimic that with an AI voice. So you should actually have those words with your family
And face.
and face.
I can I could deep fake anyone on this call if I wanted to, but I'm a good guy. So I only work with business owners that want to multiply themselves. And then on that side, right? Like what Christine's saying is just like debuting herself or extending herself, multiplying her value at a pace that she can't even keep up with. Because if she doesn't, AI is going to take her market share and she's not going to get any algorithm time. Right. So it's one of those things where like ethically, does that make sense? And that's kind of where we were looking to get some feedback from the audience, I think, is like, of course, if the AI looks bad, like people are just going to kind of shrug their shoulders at it and scroll on. But in this case, like the AI looks exactly like her. It sounds like her. It talks like her. It's validated by her. So I would be interested for everyone. Like, does that sit well with everyone? Is there anything like does a disclaimer like at the bottom of a caption or like in the ad? Is that, or not even in the ad, in the video? Does that feel more ethically aligned, or like do people really not even care based on as long as the value and the information in the video is true, then it's just kind of is what it is, and that's the world that we're heading into.
Absolutely. And if you guys see me squinting, it's because I'm reading your guys' questions. But someone said, does the reader give different consideration to the content based on yes, AI enhanced, or if it's really you? Maybe. That's why we're having this conversation. We're literally asking you guys. I don't know. Does it? Like, we're curious. And I think like the way that, because like I said, Neal was very patient with me as I navigated the ethics of this for myself. And this was how I decided I felt okay. It was talking to you guys about it directly live. And for anybody who's like considering this, if you're a creator or practitioner and you're burnt out, because let's be real, dude, practitioner life is hard and you get burnt out pouring into people all the time. If anyone's considering doing anything like this, I highly recommend Neal. I've gone through a variety of different people, and I have a very high standard for ethics. And I really appreciate the way that he approaches business and like honoring my needs. So I highly recommend reaching out to him.
I appreciate that. Let me also throw a shameless plug in here. So a lot of my clients, they're getting crazy results. One of my clients, a lot of people probably know Dr. Javen Moore. He's got like 900,000 followers. Pretty much you can't even tell which videos are AI woven in his profile. We were testing out a bunch. We probably posted like 30 different organic videos, but every single AI reel was getting like anywhere from 75 to like 150,000 views on average, and just delivering value. And people didn't care. People didn't know it was AI. So organically it works. I have a very, very large client that just did a massive campaign a lot, and like they got some crazy results with like I think it was like a 4x ROAS on several $100,000 of ad spend with AI ads. And like, so it's, there's a lot that can be done with these AI ads and AI ads and social media. And yeah, if you have any questions, just find my profile. I think there's two links in my bio. So if you have a personal brand, or if you're already making money online with your face and you're just looking to scale even further, then there's like a little link somewhere to book a call with me.
Which account should they go to, Neal? This one?
Yes, this one is the Neal Vision account.
Yep. So I'll tag it, you guys, and you'll have access to everything. So
And if you're listening, if this is like a recording, that's like Neal Vision. So Neal Vision, and that's on Instagram.
Perfect. So Effie says, I would like to see a disclaimer that says, I'm using my AI to help spread this word right now, or something like that. Totally. That was kind of my plan, Effie. I think that sounds right, like putting it at the bottom of the caption. And then Bai was saying earlier, so I'm trying to understand this question well, the story can be very secure, but the steps people make show you that it is very, very dangerous. And then followed with, when people move, you see results live and in front of you. The keyboard can create anything put into beautiful words, but behind that could be the biggest scam. True. And so I'm still trying to fully understand what you're asking, but I think it's the idea that like people can be fake and like even their words. So yes, but I mean, that's also just like having good discernment when you're online or with people in person, and just learning how to discern people that are lying to you. And I think a lot of that is different when you're in person, but also it's, I'll share this, I'll share this with you guys. I used to think in my life, I was like, man, why do I attract people like that into my life? Like, there seems to be a lot of them. The fact is, there is a lot of them. They're just out there. It's not that you're attracting them, it's that you're tolerating them and that you're learning how to discern them. So like, as you learn this discernment and your tolerance gets lower and lower, you will have less of them in your life. So don't be afraid to say no to people when you think they're scamming you. And we have Netherlands here. Cool. I love getting all over the world. So, all right. So let's come, and Neal, as I'm looking at our next question, feel free to share anything else you want to share. So I guess like one of the questions for the audience too is like, what does authenticity mean to you now that so much online is curated or automated? Like, what is authenticity? And I'd love to hear your comments and also hear Neal's thoughts.
So I think that it's interesting because we all spend so much time in our phones that we rarely have an authentic thought as it is anyways anymore. Every authentic thought that I have is really a combination of the 200 reels that I just scrolled this morning, right? Like, it's all kind of blending together. And so if you think about it like that, well, you just have to think deeply about like what makes you as a person, and figure out how to document that and integrate that into your world, into your content, into the way you operate. If you're using AI, right, it's just super important to get that identified and documented and kind of into your ChatGPT or whatever kind of tools you're using. But it's kind of hard to read that on the other side, right? If you're like trying to view people's authenticity and like kind of see them for who they are, I think the one way to do that is just like not going off script, right? Like just saying what's in your mind, and like kind of, or you can tell when someone's like sitting in their car and like they're just reading on a teleprompter versus when they're like actually in the moment and like talking about their day and trying to share like some type of energy through the phone,
Absolutely. And Effie just shared authenticity to her means not jumping on the AI train easily, but rather using it very carefully. I agree. That is exactly why we're having this conversation and why I wanted to talk to you guys before I even considered using it. But I also think that we've done it very ethically, and he's done a really good job, and it's done in a quality way where we're not just like having it spew out random content from like the random brain of AI. It's like exceptionally curated and stuff that I have written through what we've created in the AI brain that he created, and like had conversations with myself about, and then basically approved everything. And it's nothing that I wouldn't say verbally, and like, or stuff that I have said verbally, but just delivered in a different way. And yeah, so thanks, Effie. Yeah, I think Dr. Justine is showing that this is important to her, and that means a lot. Yeah, it is important to me. And that's why I was really grateful to have Neal on my team, because he didn't push me to do anything that I didn't feel comfortable with. And that's not everybody. So again, for anybody looking for a media person on your team, he is a high quality human. And that is the humans that I tend to find in the high level masterminds that I work with. So like, if this conversation resonated with you guys, like, you can follow his channel for sure, and that'll give you like a whole idea and like ways to follow and understand what's happening in the industry, because he talks about it all the time. And then also following my channel for learning how to stay healthy. And then, the reason that I talk about this stuff is I'm a holistic health expert, and holistic health means like physical body, mental body, which is basically what we're talking about, right? And like the chemical body, that's like functional medicine stuff, but the mental body and like managing your stress about the world changing and not being afraid of it and like feeling empowered because you understand it and you know what to do and you know how to discern things, you know how to differentiate, and you know who is ethical and who's not ethical and how to start finding that and how to really kind of feel into it. And you'll start seeing it more and more as stuff comes up on ads. And for anyone joining, like we're talking about AI ethics, feel free to pop in and ask questions. But this is why we wanted to do it live, is so you guys actually had a chance to ask questions to an expert in the industry who knows way more than myself. But I have interest in this stuff because I am a business owner. And one of the other ways that I want to try using this avatar is on another channel that I have called Digital Wealth Learning. And it is a way that I can teach people about how to overcome the 100x output that's needed in our society and understanding how to like basically use the internet to make a side hustle or additional income in an ethical way that often comes from a place of like monetizing your hobby and like posting about your hobby or things that you love and teaching people. And so one of those things for me is teaching people not only about your health, but also your financial health and like how to actually be healthy in your life, which is something I'm learning and navigating as well. But you know, when 2020 happened, I had to, as a practice owner who does physical medicine, really had to review what I was doing and how I was going to make an income in the world. And this is why I've moved into educating, because the other big complaint that I get is that like health and functional medicine is too expensive and not accessible. And this avatar, this is a way of making it more accessible and affordable, because I can duplicate my knowledge, allow you to interact with it while I'm treating people physically in the clinic at work. So it allows me to clone myself. This is what it is. It's an AI clone. And it's all about the ethics of how you use it. And so Effie says, I worry about people using Sora and then having their likeness used in disgusting situations. Yeah, I mean, that is why it is helpful to have paid professional accounts. And Neal might be able to speak to that better than I can. But like, Neal, how can people protect their identities when they're doing stuff like this?
Don't put any pictures on the internet. I mean, look,
Also true.
we're already past that, right? Like the only people that are truly protected are not on they're completely ghost.
Yeah.
I think if you're on the internet in any capacity, a single photo, an image, a voice note, like, you know, it's just more about, look, I think that when you're testing out AI tools, I think that there's another dimension to think about, which is like, who are the people behind the tools that are operating them, right? And so something like an AI clone, HeyGen is one that I like to use. That's very, I don't know, they've raised $100 million or something, very big company. They have their whole, they have pages and pages on their disclosure of what they do to protect the privacy of your likeness so that, you know, that can't be hacked and used in the world or whatever. But then you have this other company that I mentioned, Infinite Talk. They're more of a startup. They're out of China. And so it's a little like more like, well, do you really know what's happening when you submit your recording into there? Is that getting dropped into the black market somewhere? You know, and I would say you just have to think about like, what are these AI tools that you're using, and just weigh the pros and cons of like, what are the benefits you're getting out of it versus what are the potential risks. And you know, obviously we're talking about visual AI clones here, but there's all sorts of tools that are going to be emerging that already exist. There's stuff probably to connect your bank accounts and do financial analysis to help you budget better, right? Like, you'd probably feel safe connecting something that's built by Intuit QuickBooks, but maybe not by like some startup out of China, right? Because you're like, wait a second, I don't want, you know, my financial data being in the hands of some random person overseas. So it's just, you just have to use discernment with all these AI tools. And I mean, look, with the Sora comment, there are some safeguards. Like, you can't just, Sora is actually pretty good. You can't upload faces of other people into Sora. It allows you to use yourself, but you authenticate yourself. So you're kind of at your own control of how your likeness is used. And that's the same with Sora, with HeyGen, with anything like that. And then I think just also think about the service provider layer too, right? Because I'm the one that is orchestrating between my clients and delivering the work, right? But if you're giving your password and your authentication to someone you've never met in India or some other place, I mean, who knows? So just all different layers of this. You have like the LLM layer, you have the software layers, and then you like the application layer, and then you have the service layers. And so you just have to be wary along every single stage. And there's some crazy things to think about. Like if you at the LLM layer, which is like these big billion-dollar companies,
Language learning model, which means AI.
language learning model, basically ChatGPT, or versus Claude versus some of these other companies, you're I don't know if anyone here's gone down the rabbit hole of like looking at like Sam Altman and what he's doing compared to like Elon and like some of these other billionaires and like, but Sam Altman, he's kind of got this like, you could start to theorize and like go down this rabbit hole of being like, okay, he has this like evil master plan of like how he's like scanning all of these eyeballs in the world and he's like connecting all of these partnerships and he's, all of a sudden we'll have a monopoly on like AI for the world. And so like, do you want to work with ChatGPT? I don't know. Like we had this conversation the other day and actually switched you over to Claude because Claude, that's their differentiator is like they are ethically compliant and they make sure that like everything being done and all the data used in their LLM is just being handled in a way that's not malicious or anything, right? And so it's just, yeah, there's a couple layers to this whole AI game that are very complex, and yeah, I would encourage everyone just to kind of do your own education. Like AI is not going anywhere, right? It's just going to continue to be the hottest thing in the world until it becomes the end of the world.
Well, I like to think of it as not the end of the world.
I'm just kidding.
Ongoing.
I'm just kidding.
I had spoken earlier, and I know Neal will probably have to go soon because he's busy, but I had spoken earlier about how I had spoken with a British friend of mine who used to be a engineer for space habitations on the moon. So he has a very big mind of looking at things. And he was basically saying that he thinks that the younger generation who doesn't have a resistance to this and has only had AI and all the answers in the world at their fingertips, as long as they've known it, may actually like save humanity because they're going to learn how to integrate the consciousness. And that was one of the questions that came up earlier when we were talking is like consciousness infused with AI prompting. I try to thank my AI and be polite to it sometimes, just so that like as we train this model of an like artificial intelligence that we don't even know how it's going to change our world, guys. Like, let's be real. And Neal and I were talking about this one day, and Neal, I'd love if we could maybe wrap up with these thoughts, but maybe orienting towards like how we can look at it positively as well. But it is going to shift our world, and we should train it in that way. And then also, it's a really interesting thing to reflect on how you prompt your own AI, because it's very similar to how you speak to yourself. And so that gives you a reflection on like how you're fostering your own neurology. And this is what we're doing right now in our world as we use it. We are fostering the neurology of this developing artificial intelligence, and it is developing rapidly. And when we think about like what our grandparents saw, right? Like basically like world wars and depression, and then the beginning of the automobile, and then the internet, and then the iPhone, and now like AI, that's insane. And so now everything is going triple the speed, if not more. And like our generation, we're one of the, like our age, we're one of the last generations that like didn't have a cell phone and didn't have the internet and like got to experience dial-up, and like that, we are like a bridging generation. So that's why I think these conversations are important. But yeah, Neal, like what do you see coming, or what can we like speculate about with like how AI might change the world in ways that we haven't even thought of yet? I know you've been thinking about this.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to call out a phrase on that, something you said there, which is AI is really like a quantum mirror of yourself. It's what it is, right? Like you give it inputs and feedback, it spits it back. You look at your algorithm is a reflection of your identity and the person that you are, or that you want to be, or the things that you're interested in and triggered by. Like it is very much so like inputs and outputs, and it's just this mirror. So if you understand that, then you can almost use it as your own coach, right? But you don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole with your mirror, because you might go in a direction that you wouldn't have normally gone. But aside from just personal development and using it strategically in business, I mean, the obvious thing is that the rate of data synthesizing and like how you can apply it to just use cases that like, I mean, curing the C word, and like, I don't think I can say that on live, but like, curing medical things, right?
Actually,
like
we can't say that. So there is no curing. That's not allowed.
Yeah,
We can help things go into remission.
But yeah, now we can process trillions of data points. There's something called quantum computing that's happening right now. Like Google Willow just That's like the leading chip right now. That's Google's leading the charge on that. And like, so when quantum computing and AI meet, they're going to be able to simulate um, the world in so many different dimensions at like a rapid pace. And so, global climate change, hurricanes, health, like everything, space travel, like new ways of thinking, breaking, like, I mean, there's all this crazy I don't even want to call it crazy because it's just things that we don't know yet, right? We'll start to uncover, I think, with this new technology. But I think the coolest thing of all, at the simplest form of it, is that like the more disconnected that the internet becomes, and the more that everything online just becomes AI, the more that it's going to pull people back into connecting deeply with other people. And so like now hanging out in person will be the new cool thing. It's like, how many people can you get over at your house party again? It's no longer about your followers, but it's like how many people you have at your cookout. It's like back to the good old days a bit. And I think that there's already social clubs, masterminds, and things popping up left and right. And you're seeing it all over the place, especially in the health and wellness space. I don't know if anyone's seen, like, I'm in Miami here, but in Colorado and in pretty much all these bigger cities like New York, Austin, there's running clubs popping up. There's ice bath events popping up. People are becoming conscious about all the toxins and like the old ways of connecting with people, and like, consuming alcohol and things like that. Like, people are becoming more aware and like actually connecting at a genuine level that's really it's really invigorating to see, right? And I'm seeing this trend as AI is going up, like, so are human connections, like authentic human connections. And so there's probably a breaking point in which, like, I don't know, maybe the internet just runs itself, and then we are back to sticks and stones.
Well, and I mean, this is kind of the cool part about what we're talking about is like we can actually use AI tools to get humanity back, because now we can have AI doing the heavy lifting and humans can go have a barbecue with each other or spend time with your kids and not be glued to a screen all the time while still delivering value and putting content into the world that is helpful. And so, speaking of community, you guys know for a while I've been working on creating like a functional medicine community to make functional medicine more accessible to people who find it too expensive. And this is a place where I'm going to be hanging out as me live, right? Like you can come and actually talk to me there, but it's a way that I can talk about stuff that I can't talk about online. That's actually a thing. And it's a way that I can be really authentic while also guiding you guys there by maybe having my avatar give the information on a quick reel where everyone's attention span is 10 seconds anyway. And then if people decide that they really want to have a deeper interaction, instead of only being limited to 60-second reels as my main interaction, because that's where I'm spending all my time, I can now use some of these tools so I can spend more time in the community where you guys can actually come hang out and have a conversation with like minds and be in community with other people healing. So if you are trying to change your diet and your family's not on board, you have other people who are on board with you and you're not alone. And it is a place where I can teach you how your body works and we can have all these conversations, and I can bring in people like Neal to talk about bigger ideas and bigger things happening in the world so that they're not so scary and they're not so daunting. And you realize there are good people navigating it. And there's another channel that I find really interesting called Cancel Fisco. And that one, he like dives into like buying small brands and like how to identify mega corporations. And he just did a reel the other day where it's like people are like, how do I, like, I'm scared. How do I operate in a world where we're already defeated? He's like, actually, it's the opposite. I don't think we're defeated. I think we're actually winning. Authentic content like this, even if it's using an AI clone or whatever, as long as it's authentic and we're discussing real things, this is actually winning over the mega corporations because we're no longer kept in these tiny little boxes where they control us. We're actually able to have these conversations with each other and share more about what's happening from the world from people who are actually there. And sometimes it's more accurate than the news. So it's like the internet is winning, guys. There actually is hope here from authentic creators like this, putting stuff out and being ethical about it and like taking the time to care, having conversations like this so that you can be empowered and educated and enlightened. And this is why I wanted to have him on to discuss all of this. So I know we've been talking for a while and you have things to do. So thank you so much. And if there's anything that you want to leave people with, any thoughts, what would you want to tell them?
Yeah.
And where can they
Well,
find you?
yeah, well said. The last thought I want to do is actually just play your avatar video again for anyone else that's watching, because people might not realize what we've exactly. We have a clone here of Dr. Christine, and I'm just going to play this video. She's talking about gut health.
Tried every program. like every elimination diet, every supplement. But what if your gut symptoms aren't actually a gut problem? So, like if you're bloated after every meal, that's your nervous system stuck in fight or flight. It literally shuts down your stomach acid because your body thinks you're being chased. And if you're seeing undigested food, that's stress stealing the resources your body needs to make enzymes. Random food sensitivities popping up out of nowhere, that's cortisol breaking down your gut lining and letting stuff into your bloodstream that shouldn't be there. And constipation, even though you're doing all the things, your body can't move waste when it's in survival mode. Here's the thing. You can't supplement your way out of this. Your nervous system has to calm down first, and then your gut can actually heal. I'm Dr. Christine. Follow me for more of this. You've tried every.
So
This is all stuff that I believe and that I wrote and that I say on the regular. It's just being delivered in a format that you can access information while I'm treating people in the clinic.
and you have to realize that social media is no longer social. Like, I mean, it is, but like really the intention of reels, of making reels, is to get more people into your world so that they can connect with you on these calls, on one-on-one calls, to get in the community, to get in person. And if you're not competing in the new era and, you know, operating with AI clones that are making producing value into the world, then like no one discovers you, and you're not making the money that you need to flywheel the impact into the world that you're here called to do, right? So it all, you know, it all flywheels together in a positive fashion. But yeah, so for, I guess my final words would just be, you know, that video is very real. Use your discernment on the internet, right? Because a lot of other videos that you see on the internet might not be real. Videos that you might be comparing yourself to might not be real, right?
Yes, there's so many like women's bodies out there now that are unreal and AI generated. Like it's not real, guys.
And that's a big one. Like you really have to disconnect from the whole comparison trap, because it's not what you see online is it. I can snap my fingers and create this balcony. I could turn it into like a nice Dubai backdrop, right? Like not like, I wish I could actually do that right now, but a little more prep and we could do that. Yeah. So it's just, you know, yeah. It's an exciting world. Just lean into it and try to use it ethically with good intention. And yeah, thanks for having me, Christine. I guess for anyone that has an online business that makes money with their face, that's time constrained, that wants to save like 10, 20 hours a month, or wants to scale their ads,
Or spend time with your kids.
or spend time with your kids, there's a number of reasons why this makes sense. You can find my profile, Neal, Neal, Neal Vision, on Instagram, and just click the link, book a call with me, and would love to chat.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here, Neal. Thanks for this enlightening conversation for everybody. And thank you guys for listening and chiming in and asking questions. Like it's so much, this is why we wanted to do it live. We wanted to literally ask your opinion and have it be as authentic and as real, as interactive as possible. And, you know, my theme on everything is like, it's a tsunami that's already happening. Like it's not even coming, it's happening. And my theory is ride the wave, don't drown in it. So just use the tools before they use you. Don't be afraid of them. This is how we're empowered in a world that's changing. The only constant thing is change. So just instead of being afraid and stressed out about it, which is the worst thing for your health, just realize that it's a tool. And as you learn it, you'll become more discerning, and then it's not a scary thing. So thanks, Neal. This will be recorded. I'll put it on both of our channels. It'll also go on YouTube. Feel free to continue asking us questions in the comments. We're here for you. We will answer you. And it actually really is us answering you. So let us know if you need anything, and we'll talk soon.